Happy Monday and welcome to episode 91 of the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast. As you know, since you are here, you know that I am your host, Jazz Bennett. What I want you to do is let me know where you are watching from. As soon as you join this chat, I want you to be very interactive with tonight's show, as you are with every single show. In order for you to keep up with the show, I need you to do a few things. First and foremost, I need for you to make sure that you are following me on IG, Facebook, YouTube, and all podcast platforms. That's at Jazzie, Jazzie, Conversations with Jazz. Make sure that you are subscribing. And while you are subscribing, go ahead and hit that notifications bell on YouTube and all of your favorite podcast platforms. I have opportunities for you as a business owner to partner with the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast. And if you want to know all about the opportunities that you can partner with my show, with me advertising your product or your service, it's very simple. All you have to do is email me at jazzieconversationswithjazz@gmail.com. Listen, this is a fantastic Monday. Mondays, as you already know, are bae for me here at this show, at this podcast, and I am truly appreciative for every single one of you who tunes in on a weekly basis. I am so elated that you are a part of my Jazzy crew. Thank you so much for catching the replays and leaving comments. And so that's exactly what I want you to continue to do this entire show. And so, happy Monday, August 7th, 2023. To kick off this Monday's show, I have a very special guest. A very special guest who is not a stranger to the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast at all. My special guest actually was my guest for episode 2. So she's been rocking with me for a very long time. She was there when I first started this podcast, and even after her episode, we did a little TikTok video. So she holds a little special near and dear place in my heart. And I am referring to my special guest, Miss Gretchen Suárez-Peña, and we're going to have a great conversation because she's here. She has a show, going on right now at the Strass Center in Tampa that I'm definitely going to be tuning into and catching. But I want to give you a little bit about Miss Gretchen. So Gretchen is a Puerto Rican playwright based in Central Florida. She is an MFA candidate in the dramatic writing program at Carnegie Mellon University at University School of Drama. She will be graduating in 2024. I'm so proud of her because she was talking about this dream when she was on my podcast before. She is a part of so many organizations and she's so involved. So just to name a few of them, she's a part of the Conch Shell production in New York, Artist Collective of Writers. She's frequently writing with New Generation Theatrical in Florida, Just Right, Lakeland, Florida, and the Latinx Playwright Circle in New York, and the Latino Musical Theater Lab in New York. Now, she currently is a book writer for The Fairy's Tale, Music and Lyrics by Michael Motz. Now, her piece, Searching for Abuelo. Searching for Abuelo was the first place winner of the Voices of Warren Theater Festival at Power Stories Theater in 2023, this year. Her show, Across the Atlantic, opened the 2023 Biopic Play Reading Series at the Strass Center in Tampa. And I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to keep giving you too much information because I want her to be able to introduce herself and tell her exactly who she is. And so I am going to bring extraordinaire herself, Miss Gretchen Suárez-Peña, who's going to be joining me very, very shortly. So I see that Robin is tuned in. Let me know where you are from, Robin. Hi, Gretchen. How are you?
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I keep looking at you on Facebook and on Instagram, and you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. You're doing amazing things. So how have you been, madam?
Busy, but good. And you've been doing the most as well. I would see it.
I've been doing the most, huh?
Yeah, you're out
You know,
here.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Like you are. I told you on episode 2. I'm like, yeah, you're my shero. You are like a real life like hero. Like you wear so many hats, so many capes. So I know I missed some things because I'm gonna get back and go back into the story that we left off on episode 2. But tell my audience a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, geez. Well, I am a playwright, and I guess I'm also a dramatic writer because I'm also writing screenplays as well. So I'm going into that field. Currently studying at Carnegie Mellon. I go back in a couple weeks, but I guess the biggest thing is that I just had a show at a virtual festival that just won, and it's being done live. I saw that you said the Straz. It's not the Straz. It's Stageworks
Okay.
in Tampa. It's Stageworks Theater. They're like the oldest like professional theater company in Tampa Bay. But it's for collaboration with the Tampa Bay Theater Festival, which is also happening at the Straz. So it's like multiple theaters together. They're HCC, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, my show is being done in Tampa, the Tampa Bay Theater Festival, and that's like the biggest thing I'm doing right now. Although there's other things coming down the pipeline. We'll see.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's been a crazy year. This year has been blessed. It's been crazy. It's been crazy.
Now you're doing all of this. I'm sorry, so hot
Yeah.
here. But you're doing all of this, mama, wifey. You you are like when you mentioned all of these things that you're doing, first and foremost, when we did our first episode 2, I knew that you were an engineer and you had high hopes and high dreams there, but you had a love for theater. But on top of that, you are a wife, you are a mother, and at that time you were on air. You were on air radio personality, and we were talking about just really digging into this life and living it to the fullest and just going after your dreams. And so what you did is you provided a testament to my audience that yes, hey, we can be super women, have that good hubby, because when you have kids, you need somebody to to be right there by your side.
To support you for sure.
Right. But you're doing this thing so fearlessly. And I just, how do you keep ticking, Gretchen? Like how do you do it?
Well, it is a huge shout out to my husband because honestly, I could not do it without him. He has been holding down the fort since I've been in Carnegie Mellon and Pittsburgh back and forth and everywhere. I've been traveling a lot and he's been taking care of my son. So without him, I couldn't have done it. And my family, my mom, my dad, and my sister help sometimes take care of my son. So it's really a family effort that they support me in doing this. But yeah, I mean, I think like when we talked about in the second episode, I think that there came a point in my life. I know we got real dark and real in that episode.
Yeah, we did.
But,
we did.
Yeah, but I think that turning point in my life, that comeback, we talked about the comeback story, it really changed my perspective. And I was like, I only have one life to live. And if I don't go for it, then, I can only live my life. No one else is gonna live it for me.
Right.
So I gotta do what I'm made here to do. And I think part of it too, and the fearless, because a lot of people have told me this thing is like, oh, you're just like, I think I have a good foundation under me in terms of the support system, and also in my career, like if I need to go back to engineering, I can, which is a beautiful thing to have in my back pocket. So I think stepping out on that is I can be a little fearless because I always know that I have a safety net underneath me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it hasn't been. It's actually, I was just telling my husband today, it's been a roller coaster. It's a little nauseating actually because even the highs are high and the lows are low, so it's a roller coaster, and it's like, well, we're screaming the whole way, but it's never boring.
Right. At least we have some stories to tell. Yes. So I was, just really just reminiscing about, that episode and just reminiscing about you. And so before we really, really, really get into where you are now, like I have a little segment that I call 21 Questions with Jazz. And so it's just a hodgepodge of questions where it just really lets the viewers get to know who you really, really are. And so I just ask you questions and then you just give me the first answer that comes to your brain. And we go from there. You ready?
All right, let's do it.
You said, all right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So some of these I already know, but since, we have new viewers and all of that good stuff, they may not know. And so, Gretchen, where are you originally from?
San Juan, Puerto Rico. Yes.
And And so what do you like mostly about, being Puerto Rican? Because aside from, well, every culture has their thing, but it's just like, no, I'm not, no, I'm Puerto Rican. Like, get it straight, because like we're African Americans, or no, we're African Americans, or however the case may be. But what do you love about being Puerto Rican?
Oh my goodness, that's such a tough question. You said the first thing that comes to my mind, so I'm gonna go with food.
Food.
The food is amazing and it's wonderful and it's our food. People don't always understand it because they think like, oh, Spanish food is spicy, but Puerto Rican food is not spicy. It's very flavorful. Yes. So I'm food and music. I'm gonna go with food and music. Is my favorite thing about being Puerto Rican. Is our food and our music.
Listen, look, those are the things that got me, and good Lord, the men are beautiful. So, I mean, just that alone.
You're not wrong.
Right. And so, like, if you are giving advice to someone who's traveling to Puerto Rico for the first time, give me some landmarks. What must I do if I'm going to Puerto Rico? What am I doing?
So you have to go to Old San Juan. That's like a staple. You got to go to Old San Juan. You got to go visit El Morro, which is like the fort. You got to go see this, that's a real tourist attraction, but you have to go to Old San Juan. Mm-hmm. And then I would say in Ponce, which is the southern part of the island, there's a place called Castillo Serralle, where the Serralle family is one of the most preeminent rum making families in Puerto Rico. They have a beautiful castle there that's really cool. And then I'm going to butcher this, but it's the biofluorescent bay where you go out and you see the biofluorescent like water. I actually haven't done that, but I'm dying to go. But everybody says that's like the thing you have to go to.
Wow. So how often do you go back? Like, do you go back often or?
Well, unfortunately, the last time I went back was last year for my grandmother's funeral, which I wish it was for other circumstances. But I go like every 2 years, every 2 years or so on average. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is it when you go there? Like, what feeling do you get? Like, is there, because did you go to school there at all? Grade school?
No, I didn't. I moved to Central Florida when I was like 18 months old, when I was just a child. So yeah, I did not go to school there. What does it feel like to be in Puerto Rico? It feels like home. It's home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's home. It's home. Yeah. And so, like we were talking, and one of the things that was prominent for me in our conversation is just your journey through life and what you wanted to do. And so when you were growing up, is being a playwright, is being an engineer, a mother, a wife, what is it that you really resonated with? What did you want to do?
I guess all of the above. I think I said I was going to be an engineer when I was like 7 years old, and I didn't even know what engineering was. But performing and the arts has always been a huge part of my life, and I've always wanted to do it. Singing was actually my first love, and so I used to write songs and things like that. So I thought that it wasn't possible to do the arts. It seemed like something very far off. But if you had asked, 10-year-old Gretchen what she wanted to do, she wanted to be on stage and be singing and doing and performing. But I just assumed that one day I would get married and have children. Like I just assumed that's what everybody did, And of course I wanted those things, and I'm happy with those things as well, Yeah. But yeah, I guess all of it. I don't think there's anything that everything that I would say, everything that has happened is something that I have wished to have happened, which is a beautiful thing.
And that's amazing. That's truly amazing. Like, we're gonna really, really dive into that. And then, like when I think about, you wanted to be a singer and you wanted to be a dancer, like who were your icons at that time that really made you want to go there?
Well, actually, speaking about Puerto Rico, so the Banco Popular of Puerto Rico used to come out with a Christmas video every year where they had a bunch of artists. And I think watching all those artists perform was like a formative part of like my like journey of like wanting to be a performer. But this is gonna be real stupid, but real dumb. But I was when I was a kid and like a tween, I was a big Olsen twin fan. Oh. And so like seeing them do their thing. Well, I think like the same generation that was like obsessed with like Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana. I think I was the generation that was like, oh, the Olsen twins, like because they're only like 6 months older than me. So I always thought like, oh, I want to be like the Olsen twins. Like I want to have my own show and things like that. So That seems real silly, but that's probably it.
Now I know that you went to Bartow IB.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I know that you're very smart. You're intelligent, and you're able to. I know that going through that program, because we talked about it before, going through that program, it's like you have to know everything, like from A to Z. It's like your concrete, sequential, and maybe sometimes you're sporadic as well. But typically, kids who go through that program, they're pretty much focused, and they kind of have it all mapped out. So this question, just simply ask you, when did you like really realize, like, yo, I'm like really smart, like I'm kind of smarter than the rest of the kids? Like, when did you realize that?
I think,
when did you realize that?
I will say this with a caveat. I do think I have a certain degree of intellect, but actually I think what I have is a ridiculous work ethic. I work ridiculous amounts, probably harder than I actually should. Which I would suggest people to work smart, not hard, and I just keep working hard for no good reason. But I think the day that I realized that I was actually like super nerd was in 8th grade at Union Academy. They gave superlatives.
So you right.
And so my entire class voted me most academic. And I was like, oh, these people know I'm a nerd. Like, right. they know I'm a nerd.
So is math your thing? Is that your favorite?
I've always been math and science, but I've also liked to read a lot. So yeah, math, science, and literature, definitely my thing.
Just like right brain. You're kind of like.
I was always reading like multiple books at the same time. Yeah. Like I couldn't do one book at the same time. Or one book at a time. I was reading like multiple books at the same time. Yeah.
I totally get it. So, what's your favorite play of all time?
Oh my God, that is so hard. My favorite play of all time. I'll say what my favorite play is right now.
Okay.
Is I'm gonna say Tartuffe, which is a French play by Molière. I'm gonna say that's my favorite play right now. Is because I want to adapt it into like modern times. So, yeah.
I was gonna ask you that. I literally was going to just ask you if you could be the playwright, or like you said, adapt it into a time now. What play would it be? And so, is that the only one that you would want to do?
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people are adapting Shakespeare's plays to like modern times, and I'm not actually. I think Tony Mervin is watching right now, and he's like my guru on Shakespeare. And I'm not that great at Shakespeare, but I think that if I were to adapt a play, it would be Tartuffe by Molière, because it has to do with like I won't get into that. It's very relevant. It's very relevant to the culture right now. Politics and I'll just say that.
all the stuff. So
I want to adapt that one. Yeah.
So I would assume that, typically when you choose a partner, you guys have shared interests, you have to do whatever he likes to do, and hopefully they match. So I want to know, like, is your husband into theater? Like, is it something that he could just do without, or is it something that he actually loves with you?
So it's funny because he grew up in a family of artists as well. Like his older sisters are musicians, both of them, and composer. And he played an instrument. He played an instrument as well, but he wasn't. And he did go to a lot of performances, and he did take like a drama class in high school, but that wasn't like his thing. And so when we met, like I would take him to all these plays and stuff, and like he liked it, but it wasn't like quite his thing. He's like, I'm used to this, right? I'm used to going to performances and being part of performances. But what's been really fun is over the last like decade, he's my main editor. So he reads all of my work.
Okay.
So he reads all of them and edits all of them. And so now he like understands the craft of theater and playwriting so much more. And so when we go see a show, like he'll make comments and I'm like, you got that, right? And so, and he actually 2 years ago, so we had our thing in October of 2021. That Christmas, his Christmas gift to me was that he wrote a play. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Very, very sweet.
I love that.
So, but the funny thing is he really loves video games, and I'm awful at video games. But at Carnegie Mellon this fall, I'm going to take a video game writing class. So I'm going to learn about writing video games. Yeah.
So like the backstory to the video game of how it all happened and all of that. Like that. Wow. So there's a career in that.
Oh yeah, there's a huge career in that. So like people will code and design the video games, but then you have people who actually are TV writers, playwrights, people who write the story. So like write the dialogue and stuff that happens in a lot of these video games. So I'm like in honor of him, I'm gonna take a video writing class.
I know parents, when they see this, I know that they are gonna resonate with me with this, because I'm just like, as much as my child plays video games and he just wants to be a gamer and that is just his life, I need to know this stuff, because then I can start talking to him more concretely. Like, listen, there are careers with video games, and this is why you need to learn how to write. You need to, you need to have an interest in writing. So, like, do you know people like in Lakeland or the Tampa area who actually do that now? Because I need to come out and talk to some of my kids.
Not locally. I know a lot of them are in California, unfortunately. A lot of and actually there's one, I think, in Maryland. There's a big company in Maryland that does stuff. But I mean, I'm a big believer in just reaching out. So his favorite video game like company or whatever, like reach out and be like, hey, I'm interested. Who do I talk to? And that's the thing, is a lot of people are willing to like talk, especially to kids. They want to talk to kids about what they do. But tell them to learn how to code. That's the only thing. My biggest regret in life is never learning how to code. I mean, I knew a little bit. I know a little bit on how to code, but learn how to code, learn how to write. You can be in the video game world. But there's a career there.
Yes. I absolutely, dang it, I'm fascinated by that now. Like I want to do some research on that now. Like, that's going to be my task as a mother, to do that. When you go back and I don't know if you've ever been in a setting where you have to, but let's just say if you haven't, what would you say if you are in a group full of aspiring high school kids, and they're trying to get inspiration about their life, like what are they gonna do? What would your advice to them be?
My advice, and this is what I tell like my niece and nephew and stuff, is get a skill. Learn something that you can use out in the real world. And that can be anything from coding, accounting, drafting, being an electrician, a plumber, knowing how to use a hammer, knowing how to fix a car. Learn a skill that is applicable to sewing, like cooking. Learn a skill that is translatable to the world. Because I find that a lot of people go out and they get a degree and they study and they learn things, which is great, like, but they don't learn a skill. And like, for instance, a skill would be like public speaking or teaching. So like you could learn everything you need to learn, but you're not able to translate that information to other people. You don't know how to teach it. So like, I think it's great if you get a degree, but you have to have a transferable skill. And so I tell a lot of teenagers, I'm like, yes, it's wonderful to go to college and get a degree, but get a skill, like learn a skill. And there are a plethora of things that you can learn how to do. Like, and part of those skills also is people skills, sales, marketing, graphic design. How do you talk to people? That sort of thing. Like learning how to get a skill, learn a skill.
Yeah. Learn a skill. What do you say to the adult who is not on the path of following their purpose? Life is lifing. They have bills. Life is just real, and they've lost sight of their passion. What would you say to that adult? What advice can you give them?
The first thing I'd say is you have to write it down. You have to write down what it is your goal or what your want is. I'm a firm believer, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So you have to write it down. That's the first step. And then the next thing is to reverse engineer. How do I get to that point? And I think it takes a lot of hustle, and it takes a lot of determination, because you're not going to get there overnight. It's going to take years, but you have to put yourself in a position to be able to do that. So like one of the things I tell people, I'm like, if you want X, put yourself in the position where you can risk safely to get X. So like bills are a big thing. Yeah. So that's why I say learn a skill, because let's say you want to be a writer, but writing is very risky. But if you have a skill like coding or like being an electrician, and you can work that day job and make money to pay your bills and then set aside the time to write, then you're building a foundation for yourself to be able to leap off of. Yeah. And that's kind of what I did. I think we talked about this a little bit in the second episode. I was like, I put myself in a financial situation so that I could do what I'm doing without having to risk my family's safety and, financial stability. And part of that was because of the 2008 financial crisis. I was like, never again, never again. So I say for adults, like, you have to write it down and what do you need to build a foundation for yourself to be able to leap off? Mm-hmm. What obstacles are in your way? And sometimes people think it's like, oh, well, I've got these bills, and yeah, you have those bills, but sometimes you're nickel and diming yourself to death, and you're holding yourself back from those dreams because you're living for today and not for the future. And there's nothing wrong with living for today, but if you're always living for today, then you're never living for the future. And I feel like, and I'm weird, I think 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, I'm like, when I'm 85, where do I want to be? And I know that's a lot, but I'm like, every day I take steps to fulfill that reality. And I think that's what people lose sight of, is they're thinking about today. And yes, you have to think about today, but you also think about next year. Where are you going to be next year? Are you going to be in the same place that you were? And I think writing it down. Also, I just discovered vision boards. Yeah. I love vision boards. Yeah. That putting it on paper is like a huge thing.
Yes. I love it. And so do you have a vision board that you look at every day?
So for the first time last year, I created a vision board. I did it with my family. We did it for New Year's Eve. That was like our New Year's Eve activity. We made a vision board for 2023. And it's currently sitting in my apartment in Pittsburgh, but I took a picture of it, so I have it here. And let me tell you, a lot of the things that I put on there have come true in ways that I did not expect, which is fascinating. But it's like when you have a trajectory, you move in that direction. Yeah. And so, I think looking at a vision board, writing things down, keeping a journal is great. I'm not great at that, but I try to. And I know I'm so bad at keeping a journal. But I think I have a couple that I started when I was in Pittsburgh. And like, keeping a journal is a great way to, like, you put down your dreams, write them down. Yeah. I'm more than that.
What are your non-negotiables?
What are my non-negotiables? Describe. What do you mean non-negotiables?
Your non-negotiables in life, because for me, one of the biggest ones that I'm like, yo, like, you really mean what you say. Like, just with experiences when it comes to career, one of my non-negotiables is that I just will not work with a boss that I can't lead with. And so throughout my leadership experience, that's one of the things that it just taught me, is that I cannot lead with someone where we don't get along. And so one of my non-negotiables is really, really being able to, I must work with someone who has a shared vision, who has that, shared respect for me, and who's all about, growing together as a team. And so as an adult, as an adult leader, it's like, I do walk around saying that. Like, I can't do it anymore. And so what have you found or discovered as some of your non-negotiables in life?
I think in the entertainment industry, I think my biggest non-negotiable is attitude. Mm-hmm. I will take a good attitude over talent every single time. Okay. I've been in audition rooms where I have seen a fabulous audition by someone, or I have even cast someone that I thought was very talented, and then they started an attitude and they started being a bad team player, like they weren't a team player, and I had to let them go. Like, I will work with hard work and good work ethic and a great attitude over talent, because talent is marred when you have a bad attitude. Yeah. But when someone is generous and curious and respectful and humble and really wants everyone to win, and maybe they sing off key half the time. You can work on that. You can work on, the acting or the singing or, the memorization. You can work on those things, but you can't work on that attitude. I mean, unless, they really have a sitting down and a come to Jesus moment. But my non-negotiable is I will work with a good attitude and a good work ethic over talent every time. If I got two people of similar talent and one of them is just a bad apple, I'm not going to work with them. And so a lot of that takes faith because you don't always know, especially if it's somebody new. But yeah, that's definitely one of them. And then the other thing is that if you don't respect my time, because I respect everyone's time. And I'm there early. I respect your time. I'm not going to keep you over. You have a family to go home to. I have a family to go home to. So if you don't respect my time, then probably won't work with you again. So those are probably my non-negotiables. Thinking about that, yeah. I'm glad you put that in perspective. I was like, what?
What setting are we in? What are we doing? When you think about happiness, like what is making you happy right now in your life?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna give you the woo-woo answer. So I do think that happiness is temporary. I think joy is eternal, in the sense that I think joy is something you cultivate internally.
Yeah.
And even when you're having a bad day, like I'll be honest, today was not the greatest day. I was stressed about some stuff, and then like me and my husband were just like sitting there like, why is the world crazy? But I also know that like tomorrow's a new day. So like I feel like joy is something that is cultivated internally. And so things that are bringing me joy right now are keeping things simple, like keeping my life simple. We talked about this last time, the 5 essentials in my life.
Yes.
And how I keep those things. Those are the 5. Like the 5 things are engineering, theater, my family, faith, and finances. So keeping just those things focused. And so I think that those things, when they are stable, they give me a lot of peace and joy. But I think in terms of happiness, like things that are lighting me up right now, like making me excited, is just like a lot of new projects that are like kind of happening and bubbling in the surface. And also just like yeah, just like a lot of things I'm like, oh, and that's happening, and also just like I actually was in like a Sunday school class one time, and they talked about like the trophies that we collect internally about like our lives, that the things that we like remember. And I've just been like counting my blessings for this year and all the great things that have happened, and I've just been like, that's given me a lot of like joy and excitement of like, oh, like it's good to stay steady and faithful because good things like happen. So yeah, but like lots of exciting projects, and I'm just like, let's get to it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I know that I when I went back and I looked at your story, and then when I think about you, I think we have a lot of similarities in terms of being goal diggers, and just really chasing after our dreams and continuing to seek those things that bring, like you said, the internal joy. And I was just thinking about the family dynamic, like along this path of doing it, like I was thinking about some of the things that could have hindered, or some of the conversational pieces that could have deterred me, or discouraged me. And one of them, it came from a family member, and I know it was just because of maybe a generational gap, which I always feel like as women, and if you are a woman who's ambitious, we all share a common thread. We're going to put in the hard work to get what we want, even if we have families. But I remember just running up against several conversations with a family member, and they were almost wanting me to put my dreams on the back burner in order to be a mother, just focus on being a mother. I don't have the I don't have the responsibility of being a wife, although I was, you know, I might as well say I was common law as long as we were together. So I kind of have experienced that before. But I don't have that responsibility, but I do have a responsibility to my two boys who are now a 10th grader and, you know, a 4th grader. And it kind of got discouraging at one point because it's like, you know, but the media is feeding this, you know, women can do all these things. We can juggle it. We can have it all. Internally, I feel that that's what I can do. I feel like I'm doing a good job at juggling it here, juggling it there. And so I ran up against those times where it wasn't a question mark. It was kind of just like a comma where I had to kind of pause a little bit, but I skated right past it. But I look at you and it's like, you know, Gretchen, you literally, you chased your dreams, you know, and family stayed behind. And it's like you are chasing your dreams here, like you're in Pennsylvania now. Like, what does that take? Like, how did you get to the point where it's just like you decided all these years from now, this is where I want to be, so this is what I'm going to have to do? How in the world did you make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I just have to give a shout out to my husband because he 100% supported me in this decision. I couldn't do what I'm doing without him. And I think he'd say the same thing. I don't think he'd be doing what he's doing without me. We've both been sharpening. I did hear my friend tell me this, that her grandmother had told her. She said, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time. And I thought about that because I do have it all in a lot of ways. I have my kid and I have my husband and I have my career and I have another career that is, you know, kind of, but it is on hold. Like I'm not being an engineer right now. Yeah. And so I think what made me make that decision is honestly like, and it sounds simplistic, but I was like, I only live one. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? Yeah. If I'm just going to keep kicking the can down the road, I'm never going to bite the bullet and do it. And there's never a good time. Like there's never the right time. But I mean, I really look at my 20s and I go, okay, if I hadn't hustled to be in the position in my 20s, then I couldn't do this in my 30s. And if I don't do this in my 30s now, then I won't be where I want to be in my 40s. So honestly, it was the absolute support of my spouse and also just realizing like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. Yeah. And so I think there comes a point in everyone's life where it's, and I'm not saying that there's like a time where it's too late. I don't believe in there being a too late. Mm-hmm. But for me, I was like, if I want to be at a certain place at a certain time, then I've got to bite the bullet and just do it. But yeah, I think that there's like just an understanding that like I'm going to sacrifice some things. Like I'm going to miss, you know, some school functions for my son, you know, and I'm going to miss some events with my family. But there will be other events, then there will be other things. And like, because my husband's also in the military, like he's also missed some things. So we kind of both understand that there's sacrifice being made on both parts. But it's funny that you say about conversations with family, because there was a time early on when I was doing this and my family was kind of like, what are you doing? But like not the Carnegie Mellon stuff, it was totally cool. They were totally down for that. But it was actually a couple of friends that were like, why can't you just stay still? Why can't you just be normal? Right. And I'm like, I can't. Like, it's just, It's not in my DNA. I can't do that. I won't say the exact phrase that somebody told me, but let's just say it wasn't very encouraging because I was like, is that what you think about living life? That it should just be plain and normal and like, I just can't live that way. I can be a lot of things, but boring is not one of them.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Yeah. I am with you on that. And it's like, you know, when you've prayed, you know, for things for so long, and I think when God gives you that sense of purpose and you know what your purpose is, it's like it's a constant fire that's going to be lit within you, and it's no stopping. Like it's like you can try if you are one of those people who want to live in normalcy, what people consider cookie cutter and normal and safe. Like you could live in those guidelines, but if it's truly in you, you're never going to feel at peace in that space. Like I never forget, I had a coworker, because I was on the track of of when I was on the track of leadership, when people, because they kept telling me, oh, we see you running a school, leading a school, like you're such a great educator, but we see you doing this for the masses and all of that. And I'll never forget talking to a coworker, and I'm like, but I love to host, I love to MC, I love broadcasting, I love everything about all of it, like all of it. And she's like, well, why don't you pray it away? And I was like, pray it away. Like I never thought about that.
Pray it away.
I was like, I never thought about that ever. And I'm like, it has sat with me decades, because this was like all.
What do they mean by that? Pray it away. Though.
Right. And I'm like, just like pray the need or the want away so that you can choose one thing. And I'm like, I felt so like I'm not. I would be betraying myself if I did that. Like I can't even formulate the words like, God, please take this away. Please take this gift away from me that you've blessed me with. Like, no. It's like, no. I've always said I'm a mother, educator, host, boom. And then I'm like, and now it's like, it's so much more. So that's just me. And so like, that's why I was so excited, when I had you on my show the first time, because I want to dispel this belief system of what anybody has to do. It doesn't just resonate with my female audience, but it's with everyone, because I mean, how can you ever feel that you've lived a fulfilling life if you never go after your dreams, or you never fulfill what God has instilled in you? And I like you, I refuse to leave this earth without giving it a shot and giving it my all. And so you inspire me so much. And I'm like, hey, she's doing it, and she's not saying that it's easy. She's not saying that it won't take time, it won't take grit, it won't take effort, but she's doing it. Like she's putting in the elbow to do it.
And it makes me think of that verse that says, like, the Lord will fulfill the desires of your heart. And I think that is the fact that, like, God has put those desires in your heart. And, like, to pray it away, it's like, well, God, I think you're wrong.
Right.
You've put this in my heart, and I think you're wrong. And because I do think that, like, if God has truly put it in your heart, it's not going away.
Yeah.
I think some things can be fickle, but I think if it's truly God putting it in your heart, it doesn't go away. And also, like, I think, did you see the Barbie movie?
I did not.
Oh, you gotta see
it. I'm the only person on earth who has not. I wore my Barbie lipstick today.
There you go. Well, I mean, there's a big speech that everybody's talking about that, I mean, just really kind of embodies that idea of, like, the pressure to do all of these things. But going back to what you said about, like, or we were talking about, like, normal and boring, I just think that, like, if some people, that's what they want to live that life that feels very safe and comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But I do sometimes wonder, I'm like, are you doing it because you're scared? Like, is it truly what you want? If you just really love going to work 9 to 5 and coming home to your family, and that's what you love, then God bless you. But for some people, I think they use it as an excuse because they're scared. Yeah. And I don't think that's everybody. I wouldn't say that that's everybody, but I think that if something scares you, sometimes that's the thing you have to do. And so, like, for instance, kind of like shameless plug for my solo show that's happening at the Tampa Bay Theater Festival. I wrote it on a dare. I wrote it on a dare because somebody was like, "You've never performed your own work," and I'm like, "No." And they're like, "You're scared," and I'm like, "Yeah." And it's like, that's why you have to do it. Yeah. You have to do it because you're scared. It'll make you a better writer if you do it. And so I'm just a firm believer in challenging yourself. But, like, I think there's a time and a place for everything. And like I said, I think my friend's grandmother had it right. I think you can have it all and just can't have it all at the same time. And I think there's a beauty in, like, having that comfort zone and that safety and coming home and maybe living a little bit normal life. But for me personally, I can't do that forever. Like, that can't be my forever, because I got too much life to live.
When you live this life and you think about living this life, what are you living for? Like, what is your goal? Like, I know you're the playwright extraordinaire, but when you think about what it is that you really, really want to accomplish, what does that look like?
I'll give you the woo-woo answer, and then I'll give you the practical answer. So the woo-woo answer is, I want to leave the world better than how I found it. Mm-hmm. I really want to leave an impression in the world that is better than how I found it. And I also feel like I want my work to strike empathy in people's lives, so that people are empathetic towards each other in humanity, and to really see that we are much more alike than we're different. And And I think my biggest thing, I think a lot of times we think about making like our parents proud. And I want to make my family proud of me. But even more so, I want to leave my son a legacy of a couple things. One, you can go after your dreams. There's never too late to go after your dreams. And if you have a calling on your life, you go after it. And two, that like he will be proud of me. Like when he reflects back and goes, my mom did this. Because I think I saw this quote once, and it's like, live your life not for your parents to be proud of you. Live your life so that you leave a legacy for your children. Because our parents will, traditionally, our parents will pass on before us, but your children will live on, and your grandchildren will live on after you. And so leaving that legacy for him is like my biggest thing. And so like, and I tell my husband, I told him all the time, I'm like, at the end of your life, you'll say, being married to Gretchen was a lot of things, but it was not boring. I can be a lot of things, but boring. You will say it was never boring.
Right.
I don't know what it is about that, but I'm like, I don't want to be boring.
Right. Don't put it anywhere near me.
No, nowhere near me. My epitaph will say, not boring.
Right. I love it. I love it a lot. So listen, talk about what you're doing right now. Like what do you have going on? Talk to me about this play. Talk to me about how it does feel, with you performing your works that you've written. Get into everything Plays by Gretchen. Like I want to hear all about it.
Yeah. So I did two things last semester, or my first semester at Carnegie Mellon. Two things as I never written a children's show and I never written a solo show. So I challenged myself to do those two things. So my solo show kind of took off. Like I said, my friend challenged me last year. He said, you need to write a solo show. You need to perform your own work. You need to do it yourself because it'll make you a better writer. So I was like, okay, challenge accepted. And I already knew what I wanted to write about. And I wanted to write about my grandfather that I never met. So my maternal grandfather wanted to be, he's the only other artist in my family, really. He wanted to be an actor and a writer, and he lived many years in New York, but I never met him because he died a month before my mom graduated from high school. So that whole, it was a shocking situation. And so I knew that I wanted to write about him, and I knew I wanted to write about identity because a lot of people were asking me, they were like, where's your Latin Puerto Rican play? And I'm like, I'm writing steampunk musicals, like I'm writing all kinds of things, but I hadn't really touched on, I guess I didn't want to be put in a box about like what it was to be a Puerto Rican woman, but I did need to speak to it. I needed to kind of really dig into who I was as a writer and my voice as an artist. And so, yeah, it just started flowing out of me like fall of last year, and I submitted it to a festival in Tampa. It was barely written. It was like half of it was written. I was like, look, this was half written. Like, I know it's not complete. It'll be complete by the time the festival happens. And then they were like, this is great. Send us the full draft when it's done. They read the full draft, and I got selected for the Voices of Women Festival in Tampa at Power Stars Theater, and it's a virtual festival. So the very guy who challenged me, he actually recorded and edited the piece that I did in Lakeland with a small audience. And then it won first place at the festival. And I'm like in tears, like bawling like a baby, like not on camera. And then before that festival, I had gotten news that it had got selected for the Tampa Bay Theater Festival. So the Tampa Bay Theater Festival happens every year in Labor Day weekend in Tampa. It happens in a variety of theaters. It starts at the Straz, and then they have like HCC and Stageworks, and some of the other theaters are collaborating for space. So my show will be on Saturday, September 2nd at 6 p.m. at Stageworks. And what I've said, it's a solo show framed in the musical style of bomba. And bomba is an Afro-Puerto Rican music. It's the oldest musical dance genre of Puerto Rico. It's really cool because it's improvisational. Okay. The drums have a basic beat. There's a lot of different types of beats. Some of them are slow, some of them are fast. But the dancer with their moves creates rhythm, and there's a drum called a subidor that follows those rhythms. So every piece of music is unique because it's improvised, which makes it perfect for live theater because it's different every time, right? So not only did I challenge myself to do an old solo show that I'd never done before, but I also challenged myself to learn a dance I had never danced before. So
I gotta see Gretchen do this.
Yeah. So, but I got in touch with some amazing people. Bomba Body Dance Company, Jessica Del Bino, who has been helping me learn this dance and has been drumming, and with her drummers has been helping me. So, yeah, we've been practicing, and so that's being done. It was done virtually. We had a recording, and then now it's being done live. I've updated the show a little bit since that virtual production, but yeah, it's a very emotional piece. It's very personal because it's about my grandfather, and it's also about me kind of uncovering my identity, which is complicated because I'm Puerto Rican and an American, and that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yes. And
Yes.
so, like with that, like what has your son seen it?
He has seen parts of it. When we've been rehearsing, he's seen parts of it. Now, I will say that it's not suitable for young ears. Like I talk about a lot of deep and personal and adult things. So it's definitely like, I would say PG-13, 15 plus, like 10th grade is probably okay, but he's going into 4th grade. Landon and Avi are in the same age group.
Yeah.
So he has seen it, but I think what's interesting is because for the last 6 years, from the time he was like 2 or 3 to now, he's just been kind of seeing mom be a playwright. I think he's forgotten that I was ever an engineer. Like, I'm like, you remember when I used to take you to my office? And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot that you did that. So he's just kind of used to rehearsals happening at home, and
Yes.
that's what we're doing. So, but yeah, he's gotten to see the drums and stuff like that, which has been really cool.
That's amazing. That's awesome. That is amazing. So like when your family sees it, like what responses are you getting back from your work? Because as an artist, like feedback is it's critical, but I feel like, like Erykah Badu said, now keep in mind I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about I'm sensitive about it. So how do you feel about what feedback have you been getting back from it?
Well, honestly, I didn't think that my family was going to like it because I was like, I'm talking about some stuff, but they love it. My mom loves it. My family really loves it. So that's been really touching to me, is that it's really spoken to my family, because I think they all feel the same way about my grandfather because he passed away too soon. Like, they all kind of feel this ache for him to have been present. And also my grandmother passed away in October. So that was like also emotional because I was writing it during the time that she was sick and then she passed away. But I think what's interesting is I think specificity breeds universality. And so even though I'm talking specifically about my grandfather and specifically about being a Puerto Rican woman and growing up in Florida and specifically about being an engineer and a mom and all these things, everyone's relating to it because everyone knows what it feels like to want to feel part of your family, but also to try to figure out who you are. And so, I mean, people were like, I'm crying, I'm digesting it. I've made a lot of people cry, apparently, and also laugh. And like, some people were like, it's so inspirational and stuff like that. So I've gotten amazing feedback from it, which has been like so gratifying as an artist, because I'm like, is this resonating with anyone, what I'm saying? But people have, it's struck a chord. It has struck a chord, which has been really lovely.
That's really good. That is,
yeah.
It's really good. When you think about, do you put your work in a specific genre? Like, how would you describe your work?
I wouldn't. I think the closest thing I can say about a genre is that it's definitely more in the dramedy category. Mm-hmm. I'm not strictly comedy and I'm not strictly drama. I can tend to be more dramatic, but I infuse a lot of things with comedy. So I have some things that I would call more comedy and some things that I would call more drama, but I think overarchingly my stuff is very much a dramedy. But in terms of like stylistic genre, like mystery or romance, or it's all over the place and everything. And people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I just make a new thing. I have sci-fi. I have romance. I have romantic comedy. I have political drama. I have everything. I have steampunk. Like, that's what threw everybody off. Everybody was like, steampunk? What are you doing right now? So and I think part of it is that I want to try a little bit of everything. I think the only thing I haven't really done is horror, because I hate horror.
Because you hate horror?
I'm a scaredy cat. I can't do it. Yeah.
when you're learning this though, like, because you're going to school for it, you know, you're in school right now learning the craft of it. What are you like? What methodologies? Like, what? I guess what's the process that you're learning in order to become a great playwright when it has to come from you? Like, what's that skill look like in terms of a formal training of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think my professor, the head of our department, is a bit of an anarchist when it comes to learning. So he's just like, we're not going to teach structure. But we have learned structure from other artists who have come in and done guest lectures of structure, and we've talked about the container of a play and what a container looks like. And like, for instance, I think of Searching for Abuelo as a solo show, but I think of it as a spiral because we're kind of going back to where we started. But a lot of what we're learning is reading other people's work and seeing what they're doing to make a great play. And then I think the biggest thing, I've gotten to really dig into what the sound designers and the light designers do, and like the set designers, like really getting into their brain to figure out what they look for in a play so that I can give that to them. And so like in the stage direction and stuff, like what can I give to them? So I'm learning that. And I think the biggest thing that I've forgotten about playwriting, even though that was at top of mind when I first started writing, was why theater, why live theater, and what makes it theatrical? What about it cannot be done on the screen, cannot be done in TV or film? What about it will invoke people to be in the space together and to experience live theater together? Because this is going to be me sounding real preachy, but I feel like theater can be the saving grace of humanity because it requires people to be together in the same room. And I think during the pandemic, you know, we tried to do Zoom theater and things like that. And yes, it was good because we were all in real time, like watching each other. But there's something really energetic and almost spiritual about being in space together, experiencing life, like experiencing this show, this moment together. So that's like the biggest thing that I'm gravitating towards, because I'm also, I guess the other thing too is I'm also learning, it's a dramatic writing program, so I'm also learning how to write screenplays and TV pilots and now video games. So I am learning those genre as well, and those are far more structural. But I'm learning the difference between each of them and what makes each of them special and unique, and appreciating the art form for what it is. But I'm also just learning. So my cohort of writers is brilliant. They're all so brilliant. And I'm learning, because some of them did have a theatrical background. I mean, like, I'm an engineer, you know? So, like, I'm learning more about how they think and how their process of writing. So that's been really beautiful.
When you were talking and you were describing that whole moment, because you're in the moment when you are at a live performance, like the last year, couple of months ago, maybe about, I would say maybe 2 months ago, we went to the Strat Center to see To Kill a Mockingbird, because the students, the 8th graders at my school, they were reading the novel. And so to be able to take them to a sound theatrical performance where you have actors who they would see on the big screen there, and it was that moment that you described where I'm sitting next to people that I've never met before, like different backgrounds, different cultures, and we're all in this moment experiencing this for this space of time together. And it was electric. It was emotional. It was something that bonded us, you know, because I feel like even after the performance, everybody was left with this same feeling, you know. And I love, you know, I asked that question of you before, like, did your husband, you know, is he into theater? Because that matters, because I feel like that is a shared space that you'd either have to teach someone how to appreciate it, which I don't think you can, or you just share the experience with them. So it is certainly powerful. Like, the arts is a powerful tool, you know, in life.
Yeah, well, you're talking about a social contract that we make, right? We come and we sit next to a stranger and we agree that we're going to be quiet and watch a thing together. I have never met you in my life, but I'm sitting next to you and we've decided that for the next 2 hours we're going to watch this thing in darkness together.
Right. Together.
And it's a social contract that we make that's like crazy to think about, but it's truly beautiful. And I know it sounds real woo-woo, but I do think that like as in humanity and becoming more less divided and more unified, I really do think theater and the arts do that, because we choose to be in space together and appreciate this thing together. And I do think you can teach people to do that. I think it takes a little bit of time, but the nice thing is my husband's always been like going to performances and things like that, so he does appreciate that. But yeah, it's a crazy social contract that we do, and it's electrifying.
Yeah.
To sit and
I
take
know. Yeah. And I do plan to check out your play, because I want to see it. Like, I want to see everything that, you've been doing, and I know you're so proud of it. And I definitely plan to support you with that. And I won't ask you to go, full circle, because number one, y'all can go back and look at episode 2 in its fullness and its entirety, because it was a great episode. Like that really, truly, like after that episode, I listened to that episode at least 5 times, and I was like, oh my God, like Gretchen shared so many jewels, nuggets, like you were so transparent, and I appreciate your honesty and just your whole outlook. Like, it just gives me a greater sense of you and why you have such a great sense on life and, in fact, who you are. Like, you're a matter of fact about, this is who I am and this is what I want. But, like, throughout life and even with the basis of this podcast being the celebration of a comeback story, I would be remiss if I didn't hit upon some of the things that have made this journey hard for you, but you've overcome them. Like, when you think about this journey, like the things that you're like, oh my gosh, like I did that. Like, I got through that. Like, what have been some of the hardships that you faced?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. You're so kind. So generous and loving.
No, seriously. Like, I'm telling you, I just doing this, because hearing your friends and hearing your family share things with you is one thing, but to have someone that, you and I, we knew of one another, I knew your sister and all of that, but just to have you feel that you were in a safe space to do that, and then just to learn from you, because you afforded me the gift to have a different outlook and appreciation on this thing called life. And I'm like, wow, this is why God tasked me to do this show. Like, this is amazing. Like, we walk around people every day, just like you were saying, the theater experience. I feel like the contract that we have with people, if we're really trying to really, be human, is to get to know people. And you just afforded me the opportunity to get to know you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought any of that. Like, I would have never known any of these layers of Gretchen. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think the biggest things that I've overcome and the things that I'm still overcoming is a lot of my imposter syndrome, self-doubt, self-deprecating way of being. I am very confident in public. I'm an artist, I'm an actor, I'm a performer. I know how to speak in front of people. Public speaking is not a problem for me. I know how to be confident in public, but in private, I am a mess. So it's sometimes really hard to overcome my own internal demons of whether or not I'm, there's a lot of mom guilt, of like, oh, I should be doing this with my kid, and I'm doing this instead. There's a lot of guilt of, oh, I'm not bringing in as much money as I could be if I was an engineer. There's a lot of internal drama and demons that I have to deal with, and also like understanding that, like, I think one of the biggest challenges that I've had to realize is twofold. One, the entertainment industry that I'm trying to get into, I'm gonna love more than it will ever love me back.
Yeah.
Like, it's a ridiculously difficult industry, and the only saving grace is some of the people that I've met along the way who are also trying to do the same thing as me are so generous and loving, and understand that they too understand that you will love this industry more than it will love you back, which has been so refreshing to meet so many other playwrights and writers, because they struggle just like I do to make their art. And I'm a firm believer that everyone's art is able to be done everywhere, because we're all telling different stories, and they're going to be needed by different people. And then the other thing that I've had to overcome and am still struggling with is understanding that there are just people that are not going to come with me. Like
Yeah.
there are just people that have been a part of my life and have been involved in either small or large seasons of my life that I am grateful for, but the next season of our lives, but for their benefit and for my benefit, we cannot continue in the journey together. And that's been incredibly hard because you think, oh, this person that I've known my entire life is going to be my biggest supporter, and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
And you just have different priorities. And so, and they can't fathom why your priorities are different, and I can't fathom why their priorities are different. But I think that self-doubt is one of the biggest things I've had to continuously overcome. Like, it's not just one thing, it's every single day. His mercies are new every morning. And then just overcoming this idea that, like, sometimes people that you think are going to be there forever for your entire life they were there for a really long season and maybe for the majority of your life, but this next season that you're going into, they're not going with you. And that's okay. And that's difficult, but that's okay.
That is tremendously difficult. Like, I think that's a resounding theme or recurring theme that I talk about on this show. And just like you just did, I don't even have to mention it half of the time because it's a common thread that my guest and I seem to share. And I think if I could do any research, it probably would be in that area because I don't get it. But I think it's just as is life, like you just, I don't get it. I still don't get it. Like, I try to make sense of it. I try to rationalize it, but I simply can't.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying, honestly, one of the biggest things I've been trying to deal with is to come from a place of gratitude instead of hurt or resentment, or like, I'm coming from a place of gratitude, like, I am grateful that I had that experience with those people for that time. But honestly, I think that if you are a goal, GOAL digger, you are going after things. Sometimes, this is an overgeneralization, but I think sometimes that scares people. And I think sometimes it deals with their insecurities, that they are not doing what they feel they're called to do. Mm-hmm. Or they're just, their role in your life and your role in their life is reached an end. And now they have to go follow their path and you have to go follow yours. And, maybe we'll meet again down the road, but it's time that we go our separate ways, because holding on to something sometimes means it's holding you back. That's true. And you may not be a benefit to them and not be blessing them either. So that's been a big thing that I've had to realize, that, well, I have to sometimes let go of people because they're going on their path and I'm going on my path and we're not going in the same direction.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so I would not have done the due justice for you if I don't allow you to, before we end, to promote Plays by Gretchen, because I want people to be able to be a part of your tribe and to get into your work and to be introduced to it and be immersed in it and just to see how cool you are, like how talented you are. And so promote yourself. Like, tell us how to stay in contact with you, what you have going on, how can we be a part of the fan club that is Gretchen or Plays by Gretchen? Well,
you can like and follow Plays by Gretchen on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram is newer, so I'm so old. I mean, you're great at Instagram. I'm like just figuring it out. So
I am figuring it out too.
Yeah. So I'm more of a Facebook person. I'm like OG Facebook. So Plays by Gretchen, my page on Facebook, and Plays by Gretchen on Instagram. I also have a website, GretchenSuárez-Peña.com, and there's actually a page that you can sign up to be part of my newsletter. So I send a newsletter out every month that just tells you, hey, my shows are happening here. You can come check this out, blah, 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 buy tickets. So the biggest thing is get your tickets for Searching for Abuelo. It's happening at the Tampa Bay Theater Festival. Stage work Saturday, September 2nd, 6 p.m. And there's a couple of different options. You can be in the inner circle. You can sit up front in the inner circle and be part of the show, really. And then there's general admission. And then I have group discounts for tickets of 5 or more. So if you've got a big family, you want to be a bunch of friends, you can come in for 5 tickets or more. But yeah, Eventbrite, you can get your tickets on Eventbrite, searching for Abuelo. Or you can go on Plays by Gretchen on Facebook and see where you can find the link to buy your tickets for it. But we're filling up fast. I'm almost at the halfway mark, so don't delay, because there's limited seating. It's only 100 people, so and it's only one showing. So after that, you're gonna have to wait till there's another virtual, or if I do it again. And there's a little birdie. I'm just putting it in the air. I've been in talks. It may get done in New York. Just saying. So what happens next year? But yeah. So get your tickets for Searching for Abuelo, Saturday, September 2nd, 6 p.m. at Eventbrite. You can get your tickets. Yeah,
definitely. And I definitely will be promoting that. I'm going to try to get a group together so we can go and support you. Like, let's go.
Bring out Barto. Some of these people at Barto, I'm like, Barto, come out here. Come out.
Come on, Barto.
Yeah, come on, Barto. Yes. That's right.
It will be my pleasure. It will be my honor to do that. Like, I need to do that. I need to, yeah. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to promote it, and then maybe we can get a group to come over, because I do want to support you, because I believe in what you're doing. Like, you inspire me. You know how I'm telling you that you inspire me, because, we say that you inspire people who pretend to not see you, or you just maybe you don't know it, but you inspire me, Chica, and so that's why you're here.
Well, you inspire me too. You're doing the most. I'm so proud of you. Like, let me tell you, I was your second podcast. And, most people don't make it past the 8th episode. And you've been doing this for 2 years, almost 2 years. Like, you've been on it. So congratulations. You inspire me. Like, that's hard work. That's hard work. I see you. I see you.
Thank you for seeing me. Because it's been like, woo! Like, this is the 91st episode. So from you have episode 2 and episode 91. So
that's crazy. That's crazy. That's amazing. You should be so proud. Let me tell you, these people, they quit after 8 episodes, and you've been doing it for 91 episodes. Good for you.
Yeah. So somebody was like, look, Jazz, just chill, and then just go back and just start rebranding, promoting it. Because it's like, you literally have how many seasons? Like, if you really put them into seasons. So, like, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to people like you who entrust me with your precious comeback story. And, we have a ball. Like, I still look at that TikTok video that we did off of Flow Rider. So, that is
that's right. Oh, I'm obsessed. That's so funny. I love that.
Well, what made me do that? I was just like, Gretchen, let's just do a TikTok real quick.
Yeah, well, come see me bust a move at the Tampa Bay Theater Festival, because I'm just doing the most dancing. I'm not a dancer, but I made myself do a thing that I'd never done before.
I will. I definitely, I pledge that I will definitely support you with that, and I can't wait to see it. So, yeah, I'm there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So listen, we've done it again. We've done another episode. And so I want you to make sure that you support Gretchen. Make sure you follow her on all of her social sites. Make sure you go on her website, purchase your tickets, September 2nd. Are you gonna sign autographs at the end of the show? Like, you can meet her in person. Like,
I'll do whatever anybody wants me to do in that regard. I'll take pictures. It'll be great. Well, actually, I'm hoping that it'll be an opportunity to people come and dance as well. That we'll have a little mini dance party afterward.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I'm gonna make sure that we support you. My Jazzy crew and I will definitely be in the building. We will definitely support you. And so, Gretchen, thank you so much for being my special guest for episodes 2 and episode 91. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being an inspiration. Continue to get your goals, because I know you are. You're a gold digger just like I am. I know you're going to make it. You know what I'm saying? And shouts out to your husband, your family. Like, your husband should get, like, major kudos. And, obvious, like, he's so sweet. Like, he and London are like classmates. So, like,
oh, it's London. I don't know why I called him Landon. I'm sorry. It's London.
You're good. You're good.
Crazy. They're in the fourth grade. I can't even right now.
Fourth grade. Like, where in the world has the time gone?
I don't like it.
I don't either. It makes me sad. Like, just get back. You can get back in my tummy if you want to. That's how I'm like. Feel coddling.
Yeah. That's funny.
But thank you so much, Gretchen. I will make sure that I look up some ticket information. I'm going to make sure that I post it. It will be posted here when this episode is reposted on IG. You guys can also definitely catch this episode on YouTube and major podcast platforms. And so I'm going to be promoting it. So make sure that you tune in, you subscribe, you like, you hit that notifications bell, and you tune in every Monday at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on IG Live. So, Gretchen, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, too. Thank you so much.
Yay. Have a good night. See you later.